Welcome, everybody. Can you hear the cryings in your soul? There's more than one. It's up to you to choose who you feed tonight. I am a famous food vlogger with over 6 million subscribers and followers on my social media. I travel to different places and show my viewers all kinds of food. I have a series in my channel where I travel to a different country and have my viewers guess which country the food that I would showcase is from. The first person to guess it correctly receives a prize package from me. These are my most popular videos, and I usually get a couple of sponsored trips from well-known companies all over the world. One day, a famous food company contacted me to talk about a brand deal. They owned several restaurants that a lot of famous people go to. They create unique, beautiful, and luxurious delicacies that cost hundreds of dollars for a single plate. We quickly finished our negotiations, and I was to fly a few weeks later. The moment I got off the plane, a manager was there to pick me up. It was a week-long trip where I could go behind the scenes and see how everything is prepared. On the first day, they had prepared a party at the hotel where the chosen influencers from all around the world have gathered. They served fancy clams, lobsters, steaks, and a lot more dishes topped and marinated with their special sauces. It was those sauces that built their empire, and lucky for us, we get to see how those sauces are made the very next day. It was a tightly packed schedule. We had to leave the hotel at 4 a.m. and drive all the way to the countryside to where their factory was. Before we entered, they had us sign a non-disclosure agreement to make sure we don't reveal their ingredients. We are only allowed to take pictures and videos on areas that they allow us to. After that, we were handed out a rectangular plate divided into 4 sections, and each holds one of their specialty sauces. We were given the opportunity to have as much as we wanted as we go around the tour. The first section of the factory that we went to is where they make their famous marinara sauce. The moment the doors open, you got a whiff of the sweet tomato flavor. They showed how the tomatoes are broken down or crushed in this huge container and poured into a massive mixing bowl. Then, the meat that were sliced and minced perfectly were poured into the mixture. Once they finished, they would put them in jars and label them, and then ship them out. The process was very simple, but the huge machines with the latest technology are what made the experience fascinating. We proceeded to go to other rooms, such as the sweet and sour room, hollandaise room, chimichurri room, and cheese fondue room. All the other rooms were so interesting, but I did notice a few odd things. In every room we go to, there would be workers who were tiptoeing around like some scared mouse. They also didn't have any ID badges, unlike the others. Another thing was that the grinding and mixing machine smelled like... I don't know, it was probably just the machine oils or something. Anyway, after the tour, we were immediately escorted out of the building, and we were about to head to the restaurant when I noticed that I had lost my phone. I asked for them to let me go back in, and they reluctantly agreed. As one of the staffs escorted me around the different rooms, I suddenly heard loud struggles coming from a nearby room. We walked past it, and from the corner of my eye, I saw a glimpse of a bloody woman being dragged as the doors closed. The staff quickly drew my attention away, as if none of that had ever happened. It troubled me the whole day. I couldn't enjoy the trip any longer. Whatever the staff said after, I found myself doubting all of them. Late that night, I went on my computer and tried to dig up information about the company. Normal searches did not bring up anything, so I tried the dark web. It was hard to find, but I had discovered a lot of unusual and disturbing things. There were accusations that they kidnapped people from the streets. There were also articles that said that they set up foundations for abandoned children and raise them until they are meaty enough. It was crazy. There were hundreds of reports and complaints, but they were all buried in the dark web. This company gave me the creeps, but I know then that I have to get to the bottom of this, for my love of food, or my moral compass. I just had to do it. So the next day, I told them that I came down with the flu and would not be able to join the rest of the trip. When the buses left, I secretly snuck out of the hotel and went to start my investigation. I've compiled the names and the addresses of the complaints and decided to pay them a visit. The addresses led me to secluded areas outside the city. 9 out of the 10 households that I visited lived in a shabby house with no clean water and electricity. They were so out of touch from the world that they were scared of my camera. I started asking them about the company, and they told me that once a year, people dressed in black would come to the village and take their children away. In return, the parents would be provided with 2 years' worth of food. By the time I was putting the puzzles together, it was already getting late. I had to head back to the hotel to not arouse suspicion. Even if a village with only about 80 families all have their children taken away, it wouldn't be nearly enough to provide for the company. That must mean that there are more. I knew doing this by myself would not be possible. I had to gather enough evidence before the trip ended in a couple of days. I knew it would be a risk, but I decided to message my fans who lived in this country to help me out. I asked them to help me interview other families in different villages and try to gather as much information and evidence while I would try and infiltrate the factory. The next day, I begged for them to bring me to the factory, saying that I was thinking of franchising. The money-hungry people that they were, they took the bait. Obviously, I invited the other influencers along so that I would have the chance to sneak out. After that drive, we finally reached the factory. Just like before, the staffs were with us the entire time, and I noticed that all the doors had security locks. To cause a distraction, I went close to one of the machines and tried frantically opening the locks. When they caught on, they rushed to me and tried pulling me back, but I kept my firm. I shouted at the top of my lungs, screaming, "There is a body! There is a body!" whilst pointing inside the machine. In reality, there wasn't one. Not from where I was standing anyway. But that caused enough panic in the room for the other staff to come running in. While all that happened, I was able to snatch an ID badge and snuck out. I took out my camera and went through different rooms to see if there were any evidences. In one of the rooms, I found mutilated bodies wrapped in garbage bags. It was a slaughter room. In the room next to it was a freezer room. Body parts wrapped in cling wrap stacked on top of each other, perfectly labeled, filled the room the size of a football field. But it gets worse. The rooms after were the carving rooms. Just like how meat are sold in the supermarket, these human meat are separated into different cuts. Some are then aged, while others go straight into marination and seasoning. If you had no idea what they were, you'd probably start licking your lips, wondering how tasty they are. The whole factory was room after room of pure evil. The worst of them all was the basement. Even from beyond the bolted door, you could hear the crying and screaming of the abducted people. I placed the ID badge into the scanner, and the huge metal door opened. I dropped my phone on the ground as horror filled my soul. There were hundreds, no, thousands of people in there. I came to help, but my body was frozen until somebody picked my phone up and handed it to me. It was one of the staffs. I was caught. I panicked and took the phone from his hand, and before I was even asked, I bolted out of there and rejoined the rest. The whole ride back to the hotel was tense. I knew that they figured it out, but they didn't say anything. It was so scary. Something was definitely up. I didn't know what, though. When I got back to the hotel, I immediately gathered my materials and started working on this video. I have to get this out there. To my fans and viewers who are watching this, please make this known. Help me help them. And if you're watching this without my usual intro, then it means that this will be the last. I love you, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Thank you everybody for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, we have our timestamp, upload schedule, and email down below if you guys would like to check that out. Also, if you guys would like to support our channel, please click the like and subscribe button down below. If you don't want to, that's totally fine as long as you guys enjoyed the video. But hopefully we do see you in the next one. Bye!